Everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gamer Dad channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So today I wanted to talk about the open world difficulty settings, and I wanted to go ahead and highlight the heroic versus the challenging difficulty. Now, in a past video of mine, we spoke a little bit about this, and we talked about kind of the open world farming setup and why there are some challenges in how you can select what difficulty you want, and why heroic was not the most optimal difficulty that you can use to farm or even get XP, because already the loot drops are actually quite more challenging to come about in heroic, settings. In fact, in general, the loot drops in the game are quite challenging to come about. That's just a fact. And then when you put it on heroic difficulty, enemy NPC numbers are increased. So now this increase is the developer's way, and I think this was a designer who made this call when they were talking about when Warlords of New York was first released and this new system was put in place. This was a designer's way of increasing the difficulty and challenge of this mode. And even though this mode does, or even if the developers have claimed that this mode has a higher propensity and a higher potential to drop more loot for you, it is not necessarily the most optimal way to get loot, because the behavior of the enemy NPCs, the damage of the enemy NPCs, and other factors really do count against you as an agent. So I'm gonna do a quick run. I'm on heroic. I have three directives on. And in a territory control, I think you have more success. So in some of these open world activities that are much more stationary and or stagnant in a specific location, you're able to hunker down and stay in cover and see enemies spawn. This is the division way. This is how we play the division, and this is how we get the most out of it. So I'm literally here, and when enemy NPCs are coming, I can see them, I can take evasive action, and I can go for, basically ways to keep myself alive. So in an open world situation like this, already you see I already have somewhat of the upper hand. I can pretty much do my thing. I can stay in cover. I can take down baddies. No problem, right? But here's the problem. Whenever any open world enemy NPC, coalition shows up, or someone that's not part of the mix, which is usually the case with heroics, that's when the whole game changes. You are now on the back foot. Everybody and their mom shows up in the whole equation, and now this is where things get different. So in a loot scenario, this doesn't really help your cause, because what do you gain if you die like 50 times before you can get a few loot items? Or at least the mission, if you die, it basically respawns and you don't get any rewards if you were to die. Now, yes, I get it. It takes a high skill level. You can say all what you want. But at the end of the day, what really even subverts this is the game itself. The game now has an optimization station. So whatever gear you may get from here, if it's not max rolled like you want, you could just go to the optimization station and you can basically make it better. So that's where I think the open world challenging is where it's at. Now, this is something that really took me a while to adopt. A lot of people had been saying it for a while, like, yo, challenging is where you need to be, because this is pretty much it's the bread and butter. You get more bang for your buck. You get more value when you're farming. And, it's something that I needed to check out. And for the longest time, I didn't necessarily check it out. I wish I had. I would have probably been enjoying and benefiting from it all that while, and all of the above. And the build that I'm using is actually a fun build. I'm going to go ahead and talk about it in another video, because I think I'm moving from my other open world build, which is an interesting turn of events, to this particular build, just to, increase and spice things up. Now, look at this chest, that I got. Weapon damage, weapon handling, skill haste, overwatch. I mean, yeah, I guess it's a decent chest piece, but if, say, I really did want it, then I would have to basically go, to the optimization station and do the same thing that I'd probably do if it was challenging. Now, granted, the XP gains are quite high. I mean, 256,000 XP for this, but on challenging, I would have to add one more. I think you have to add one more directive or so and get that 25% to be able to get about 230, 240, or 260 something XP. But that doesn't necessarily mean a lot. I would have completed this particular territory control and even the little propaganda thing down the road if I was doing it on challenging, thereby doubling my XP per the amount of time I spend doing any mission or whatever. And what's even worse is they're fighting here already. Two factions are already fighting. On challenging world difficulty, I don't have to spend the extra time dealing with both hyenas and outcasts. I can just focus on just the outcasts and get the mission done, which to me is a much more productive run if you were to ask me. Oh, there we go. It's an entire hyena open world hyena open world boss that's probably going to shred my shield. They probably have everything. They're probably going to kill me. Yeah, that's how it usually goes. If I don't get them quickly enough. Look, look, look. Oh my gosh. She got exploded and she is still over here doing damage. You see that? She just ignored all of that and is just peppering me. It's like, oh, you don't even exist. And this is exactly what, the problem that we have here in the open world with the, just with the enemy NPCs. They just kind of do what they want. And then look at the quality of the gear that I'm getting. It's nothing that I haven't seen in challenging open world difficulty. So heroic is actually kind of overrated in terms of open world difficulty, other than XP gains if you were trying to maybe level up a specialization or whatever. But when it comes to farming and when it comes to rate of, churning in terms of how much loot you're getting, which is the basis of the division, by the way. I mean, people are still looking for builds, by the way. Let's not, minimize that. I think the best bet is to go with a challenging open world difficulty. And I decided to do this real time and just basically play through just to show you guys some of the challenges as well, in this aspect. Now, here's another thing. Your build also matters. In a situation like this, I'll probably run a skill build if I was pressed for running heroics or just wanting to do the challenge, or I can still do it with this build. There's nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, this video is pretty much directed to those who may be having issues doing, the heroic difficulty in open world. I remember we talked about this in another video, and even one of our, audience members still went ahead and further complained about this, saying, I just don't feel like I can thrive in a heroic open world. And so I made this video because even if you may not, you may think you're not able to thrive, I think even seasoned players face the same challenges as well. Now, yes, we kind of get used to it or whatever, we just kind of deal with it because in a sense, we're somewhat comfortable with the amount of items we have. We're somewhat comfortable with the amount of builds we've already been able to farm and harness. But because of that resource called the specialization station, no longer do you have to feel like you're tangled or subject to having to farm the highest difficulty. You could just enjoy the game, plow through enemies. If challenging is too much, you can go you can even go down to hard. There's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion, anyways. Even though hard's not going to give you good gains, but it does sometimes surprise people. I remember some of you were saying in your videos, you've been able to get exotics, even max rolled items on hard difficulty. And even on a hard mission one time, I got a max rolled, what's the name? The tank brand set or gear set. Sorry, I can't remember the name right now. The one that's actually got some exclusives in the raid in terms of its chest piece and whatever. But that's pretty much my video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you guys a lot. Hopefully we'll talk soon, and peace out.